It's August 14th, it's INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm Paul Joseph Watson. Coming up on the show.
Tonight, the ruling class accelerates the planned economic implosion as the Federal Reserve warns big banks to prepare for a worst-case scenario. Then, a new brand of facial recognition technology developed for Facebook. Check in with your face and verify your account. Plus, FAA documents show that unmanned drones over U.S. skies pose a huge safety risk. Meanwhile, defense contractors have spent $2.3 million lobbying Congress to open U.S. airspace. And finally, Alex Jones talks with Webster Tarpley about the impending economic collapse. All that and more up next. INFOWARS Nightly News.
Top story tonight, Rome burned, will we? And this is an article I put together with Alex Jones. As America's engineered economic implosion accelerates, the parallels with how the Roman Empire fell are staggering. America is now ruled by a gaggle of completely corrupt financial terrorists who will stop at nothing to hollow out the country in pursuit of their own maniacal and selfish gain. This precisely parallels Rome's rapacious ruling emperors and senators of the 5th century who were so obsessed with seizing wealth and control that they ended up destroying their own culture, their own country, and the whole empire in the process. So basically, this is mainly about the planned financial implosion with, of course, the so-called stress tests on the banks coming up. The banks are being told by the Federal Reserve, prepare for a collapse, and the government's not going to help you. But it's also about the innumerable similarities that 21st century America shares with the Roman Empire. And it's just amazing how close they parallel, how close they match up. You know, we've got the United States with troops stationed in some 130 countries now, outstripping anything the Romans ever had in terms of occupation. But, of course, sharing the same impossible task of maintaining such a sprawling empire when the US can't afford it. It's gone bankrupt, 16 trillion in debt. Meanwhile, we've got the ruling greedy elite centralizing power and wealth, capitalizing, hijacking the very financial crisis they created to do so, just as the Roman emperors and senators did back in the empire. And also, of course, record numbers of Americans, about a third of the whole population, on some form of government welfare. Same situation in Rome. So again, we've also got the moral decline of America, you know, added to the obsession with sports and entertainment, which is directly contributing to the decay in society because people are just obsessed with entertainment, bread and circuses. They've abandoned their civic duties. They're no longer interested. Same thing happened in Rome, almost exactly the same thing. That's, of course, where the phrase bread and circuses came from. There's actually a poem or a quote in this article written by the poet Juvenal from 100 AD. He was talking about Rome at the time. And he wrote about how people had sacrificed their involvement in real affairs, you know, which directly impacted their lives and substituted them for bread and circuses. Exactly the same thing happening in America today. Just as in Rome, we've got in America a situation where an overwhelming number of illegal immigrants have flooded in and refused to assimilate to the point where they're now trying to actually claim their own territory, just as the tribes that flooded into Rome did all those centuries ago. So again, same parallel. You know, we got these La Raza movements. We got the Mexican flag being flown above the American flag in places over on the West Coast. We got race being played off against race. Exactly what happened in Rome. You can go through all the scholarly texts about how Rome collapsed. And in almost every instance in society, in the economy, in culture, America parallels Rome in every sense. It's scary. So, you know, where's it all leading? It might take a couple of hundred years. The Roman Empire lasted for, what, nearly 1,000 years. So we don't know the time frame, but what we do know is short term, all this is going to lead to riots and civil unrest. And eventually it's going to lead to the collapse of America, just as Rome collapsed 1,600 years ago. So basically, this article's about the ruling class. Are they so consumed by their avarice and lust for power that their actions could lead to the actual collapse of Western civilization? Because it's happened before in history with the Roman Empire and other empires, and there's no reason it can't happen again. So Rome burned, will we? Important article up at INFOWARS.com that I put together with Alex Jones. Moving on. National Weather Service follows DHS in huge ammo purchase. And this is my article at INFOWARS.com, also linked on drudgereport.com today. Why would the National Weather Service need to purchase large quantities of powerful ammo? That's the question many are asking after the federal agency followed in the footsteps of the Department of Homeland Security in putting out a solicitation for 46,000 rounds of hollow point bullets. A solicitation which appears on the FedBizOps website asks for 16,000 rounds of S&W jacketed hollow point bullets, noted for their strength, to be delivered to locations in Ellsworth, Maine and New Bedford, Massachusetts. A further 6,000 rounds of S&W hollow point bullets will be sent to Wall, New Jersey, with another 24,000 rounds of the same bullets heading to a weather station in St. Petersburg, Florida. And this solicitation, which is on the FedBizOps website, also asks for 500 paper targets to be delivered to these same locations. So you've got hollow point bullets, which rip apart organs on impact with the human body, and then paper targets. Doesn't quite make sense. But since this story was picked up by the Drudge Report earlier today, no less than the Washington Post waded in and quoted the NOAA, that's the federal organization above the National Weather Service, as claiming that this solicitation for all these thousands of rounds of hollow point bullets was a, quote, clerical error, and that the ammo is not going to the National Weather Service, but instead to the NOAA Fisheries Office of Law Enforcement. So basically they've come out and said it was an error, it was a mistake, that they never intended to send them to the National Weather Service, but they're going to this other office under the same branch of the federal government. But whoever it's going to, and remember this is the same government that ships guns to Mexican drug cartels under Fast and Furious, you know, they've proven they can't be trusted. The question remains, why do they need such powerful bullets if they're shooting at paper targets for training drills? Doesn't make sense. Why do you need to buy bullets that are designed to expand on impact with the human body and tear open organs if you're shooting at paper targets? You know, why not just buy cheaper bullets? Well, it's the same question, of course, that's been asked of the Department of Homeland Security. 450 million rounds of hollow point bullets purchased back in March, followed by another 750 million rounds of assorted bullets in a current solicitation that's about to expire in the next few days. So we're talking over 1 billion rounds of bullets that the DHS has or is about to purchase. And again, they're telling us it's for training and target practice. Why are they buying these massively powerful bullets for shooting at targets? It makes no sense whatsoever. Of course, we know that the DHS is also buying large quantities of riot gear and telling us that civil unrest is right around the corner. But why, amidst all these mass shootings, is the Second Amendment being demonized? You know, we've got legislation introduced by the Democrats to ban the sale of ammo in large quantities online. Why, when that's happening, is the federal government consecutively arming itself to the teeth with ammo and then claiming it's a clerical error when it's being sent to the Weather Service? In fact, it's going somewhere else. And why are they buying, why is the NOAA buying bullets that rip apart internal organs if it's just for target practice? I mean, the DHS has refused to answer questions as to why they're buying these hollow point bullets. Remember, they're actually banned in warfare. They're considered that deadly and dangerous that they're banned under the Geneva Convention in the context of warfare. And another aspect to this, as the denials flood in, is an article out of the Hill, Obama administration. UN arms treaty shouldn't regulate ammunition. So while they're trying to ban it, the large purchase of ammunition online for American citizens, they don't want the UN to do the same thing because, as this article states, the Department of State Conventional Weapons Destruction Program has funded the destruction of over 90,000 tons of excess loosely secured or at-risk ammunition since 2003. So there's another question. The DHS has bought over 1 billion rounds of ammo. You know, is this merely about trying to keep it out of the hands of the American people, or are they actually planning on using it? And in fact, there was another interesting aspect to this article thrown up by a commenter on the article that was linked on drudgereport.com from INFOWARS. And he talks about the fact that these bullets are being delivered to an address which shares its location with the National Endowment for Democracy. And if you actually go and look on the solicitation, the NED is listed as the recipient for these bullets under the same banner as the NOAA. So why is the government buying bullets for a non-governmental organization? It's quasi-governmental. Of course, it's a CIA front, but officially it's non-governmental. And then getting all shifty about where these bullets are going. Could it be that the Weather Service, the fact that they were being sent to the Weather Service, which was in the original solicitation before they came out today and said, no, that was a clerical error, could it be a cover for the fact that they're sending ammo to the National Endowment for Democracy, which is one of these regime change shadowy groups run by the CIA? Could these bullets be going to the Syrian rebels that have openly been supported by the National Endowment for Democracy, as the US denies sending any arms to the rebels whatsoever? So we'll continue to have updates on this story as they come in, but very interesting shifting explanations as to where these bullets are going. And the DHS refuses to say anything about why they've purchased over 1 billion rounds of ammo. And actually, just 10 minutes ago, I got a Facebook message with a link to another solicitation where Social Security is ordering 177,000 rounds of bullets. So the federal government across the board is arming to the teeth, while it tells the American people that they should disarm, and as it gears up for riots and civil unrest. Very interesting. Next story. FAA documents show drones over US pose huge safety risk. This is Steve Watson, INFOWARS.com. Recently released FAA documents have raised yet more questions surrounding the opening up of US skies to unmanned surveillance drones. Thousands of pages of FAA experimental drone flight records that were obtained by the Center for Investigative Reporting detail just how complicated it would be to operate thousands of unmanned aerial vehicles safely without spending billions of dollars. So, as we know, the FAA recently relaxed the rules on drones operating in US skies, which, as we have seen, you know, it's opened up this feeding frenzy of private companies trying to make drones for the government, trying to secure contracts with law enforcement agencies, all to spy on you and me. And of course, this was all accompanied by a admitted propaganda campaign run by the drone industry, which sought to create the fallacy that drones were safe, secure, and beneficial. Well, the truth turns out to be quite the opposite, because in these tests, which these documents expose, of course, which led to the FAA green-lighting the use of surveillance drones in American skies, the drones kept crashing, and that was without any other aircraft even being in the vicinity during these tests. Here's from the article continuing. The FAA strictly confined the testing to areas of space where there were no other aircraft, precisely because the drones have no capabilities to avoid collisions. They're talking about